guys, today I'm filming my very first single shadow of the month video. If you guys have seen my palette of the month videos, I'll have my playlists linked up here, and in those videos I will test out a palette for a month and then I will review it. But as I mentioned in my monthly makeup basket for this past month, I am running out of palettes and I want to really focus on some single shadows that I've been neglecting as well. So throughout 2017, I'm going to rotate between palette of the month and single shadow of the month, just depending on what palettes I have, what the season is, and what products I need to be using. So I had the format of my palette of the month down to a science, but with the single shadows of the month, it's going to be a bit different. So bear with me for this video, and hopefully by the time I do my next one, I will have a better sense of how I want this video to go. For this month, I chose several different MAC eyeshadows to use, as well as one from ColourPop, and I'm going to start out by showing you all of the shades, giving you their color descriptions, and showing you swatches. My first eyeshadow is MAC Yogurt. It is described as a soft pale pink, and it has a matte finish. Here's a swatch of Yogurt. Next I have MAC Satin Taupe. It is described as a taupe with silver shimmer, and it is a frost finish. Here is a swatch of Satin Taupe. Next I have MAC Cranberry. This is described as a red plum with pink shimmer, and it is a frost finish. Here is a swatch of Cranberry. Next I have Haux, which is described as a soft, muted, rosy brown, and it is a satin finish. Here is a swatch of Haux. Next I have Deep Damson. It is described as a deep burgundy. It's a matte finish. Here is a swatch of Deep Damson. Next I have the MAC Extra Dimension eyeshadow in Smoky Mauve. This is described as a pinkish muted mauve. Here is a swatch of Smoky Mauve. Next I have the MAC Extra Dimension eyeshadow in Ready to Party. This is described as a pale lilac. Here is a swatch of Ready to Party. My last eyeshadow is ColourPop Elektra. This is described as a deepened burgundy with pink violet glitter in a metallic finish. Here's a swatch of Elektra. So now I'm going to show you the details of the 5 looks I created with these shadows. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Milani Shadow Eyes Pencil in Sand Dunes. From my MAC eyeshadow palette, I'm wearing Satin Taupe on the lid, Haux as a transition color, Deep Damson as an outer corner crease color, and Yoghurt as a brow bone highlight. Here are what the eyes look like up close. For cheeks, I'm wearing the MAC Blush in Breath of Plum. On my lips, I'm wearing the MAC PatentPolish Lip Pencil in the shade Kittenish. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo and Pomegranate Punk. On my lid, I'm wearing MAC Cranberry. From the Tarte Amazonian Clay Rainforest After Dark palette, I'm wearing Bare to Explore as my transition color, and wearing Tangled Up in You as my crease color. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush in Exposed. On my lips, I'm wearing the Buxom Full On Lip Polish in Dolly. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Black Orchid. On my lid, I'm wearing the MAC Extra Dimension Eyeshadow in Smoky Mauve. In my crease, I'm using the NYX Single Shadow in Coquette. For my transition color, I'm using Tarte Bare to Explore from the Rainforest After Dark palette. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Clinique Cheek Pop in the shade Heather Pop. For lips, I'm wearing a combination of a lip liner and a liquid lipstick. I lined my lips with a ColourPop Lippie pencil in Rayezor. I filled in my lips completely with the ColourPop Ultra Satin Lip in the shade Dopey. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Too Cool. On top of that base, I'm using the MAC Extra Dimension Eyeshadow in the shade Ready to Party. I'm using MAC Haux in the crease and MAC Deep Damson in the outer corner. For my transition color, I'm using Bare to Explore from the Tarte Rainforest After Dark palette. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the e.l.f. blush in Berry Mary. On my lips, I'm wearing the NYX Butter Gloss in Cranberry Biscotti. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. On my lids, I'm wearing ColourPop Elektra. In my crease, I'm wearing MAC Haux. As a transition color, I'm wearing Tarte Bare to Explore from the Rainforest After Dark palette. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush in Exposed. On my lips, I'm wearing the Urban Decay Matte Revolution Lipstick in Matte Back Talk. The shade Back Talk has been added to the Vice lipstick range, and it is a comfort matte finish. So now that I've shown you all the looks, I want to talk about the formula of these shadows, and I wanted to talk to you about why I chose to use which bases, crease colors, and transition colors, because I feel like those extra items really do bring the look in together. And I wanted to mention that I use a cream shadow base on my lid with basically all of the looks that I create, except with ColourPop shadows, because it really helps intensify the look, and it doesn't mean that the shadows I'm putting on top are bad quality or have bad pigmentation or lasting power. I just prefer the finished look with a cream base underneath. My first look was focused around MAC Satin Taupe. I focused all of my looks around the lid shade, and I knew I was going to be pairing it with these other MAC shadows because that's the way I love to wear Satin Taupe. So I wore Yoghurt as a brow bone highlight, Haux as a transition color, and Deep Damson in my crease. And as a base under Satin Taupe, I wore this Milani Shadow Eyes Pencil in Sand Dunes. Any taupey cream base would be perfect under that. So if you guys have never used MAC regular shadows, I wanted to talk a bit about the formula. So these are more dense and tightly packed, so you are never going to have kick up or fallout when using these. And if you are someone that likes eyeshadow formulas similar to the Lorac Pro or the Kat Von D palettes, then you might not like these because those shadows have a lot of pigmentation to them, but they have a ton of kick up and fallout, which is something that drives me crazy. MAC eyeshadows were some of the first that I used and really fell in love with, and even though I've tried several shadows since MAC, MAC still stands to be one of my favorite formulas because it is a bit more dense. And even though MAC shadows are more dense, I don't have any trouble picking them on a brush or blending them. With shadows that are more loosely packed, sometimes I have a hard time blending because I feel like it gets really muddy. I do not have any of those troubles when I use my MAC shadows. So within this look, there were a couple different finishes of shadows that I used. I used matte, satin, and the frost shades, and MAC has several different finishes, and honestly there's only a couple of differences between some of them. Frost shades are just like basic shimmery shades. MAC Satin Taupe applies really well. I do sometimes have to go in with about 2 layers to make sure I'm fully covering that base and giving that wow bam pigmentation. Usually I will apply 1 layer with a brush and a second layer with my finger, and again that's something I do with just about all of my eyeshadows to make sure they are as intense as possible, but I didn't have any trouble with the pigmentation of Satin Taupe. And then for the other three shadows, Yoghurt, Haux, and Deep Damson, I didn't have any issue with them either. The formula of those shadows are really buttery feeling, and they actually do feel kind of creamy. They're not like too tight and hard. And sometimes when I use cool tone shadows, if I use something that is too gray, I feel like it looks really, really muddy and messy on me. But because Haux does have that rosy brown to it, and Deep Damson with that nice burgundy, it really emphasizes that Satin Taupe, and it looks gorgeous, blends nicely, and does not look too muddy or chalky on my skin. My second look was using MAC Cranberry on my lid, and this is also a frost finish. I absolutely love Cranberry. I think the shimmer to it is stunning. It is a really pigmented shade. I love wearing it on the lid, but when I wear a more dark color like that on my lid, sometimes I can have trouble figuring out what am I going to do for my crease, because I don't want it to look so stark on my lid, but I don't want to put something really deep in the crease either, because then it's just going to be way too dark. So I figured out some shadows that I think paired really nicely with it to still give that nice fade, but not look so harsh all over the eye, really just keeping the intensity on the lid. As a base on my lid, I used the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Pomegranate Punk. It is a really similar shade to Cranberry, and it just helped give a little bit more intensity and help the shadow stick to my lid better. So I knew I wanted to wear a brown eyeshadow in the crease, but I didn't want to pick anything too dark, too warm, or too cool. So I chose this Tarte eyeshadow in Tangled Up in You from the Rainforest After Dark palette. This is the perfect shade on my skin tone to go in the crease to create a nice transition from my lid to my brow bone without being too harsh and also not being too light. And then for my actual transition color, I use Bare to Explore, which is a really light nude mauve color. I mentioned this in my monthly favorites, and because this is only a couple shades deeper and more rosy than my skin tone, it's a perfect transition. And this shade and this shade blended together so easily and right into the lid. I was really happy with the way that these shades work together, and these Tarte shadows are nicely formulated, but I haven't reached for them in years, so I'm glad I got some use out of these. But I wouldn't say they're amazing, but they worked perfectly with this look. I really loved that MAC Cranberry look. It's something that I have been wearing for years, but like I said, I've always had a really hard time figuring out what shade to use in a crease, and I think that Tarte shadow was absolutely perfect. So I'm really happy that I decided to do this video this month, and I discovered my favorite way to wear MAC Cranberry. My next look was focused around the MAC Extra Dimension eyeshadow in Smoky Mauve. As a base under that shadow, I use the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Black Orchid. So if you guys can see this color, it is a really pretty purpley taupe, but this does not have a ton of sheen or a metallic look to it. So this can be very, very dull looking when I wear it alone on my eyes. So this is a shade I've been neglecting for that reason. So for the formula of the MAC Extra Dimension eyeshadows, it is just the same as their highlighters. They're very pigmented, they are really glittery, but these do have a dry formula. So they look amazing in a swatch, amazing in the packaging, but when I put it on my lid, the color doesn't stick as well and it doesn't show up as vibrant because they are a bit more dry. And obviously you can wet your brush, but when I pair it over top of this cream base, it creates magic. I showed a swatch of these two combined in my January favorites video, which I will have linked up here, but each of these shadows makes up for what the other one doesn't have. This has that gorgeous shade, that amazing metallic glittery finish, and this one has that creamy base to make it stick to the eye, and the color of this really brings out the purple tones and also the glitter in the shadow. And seriously, the combination is completely rock your socks off. Both of these are pretty on their own, but together is one of the most amazing looks ever. So again, I'm so happy I did this video and combined these products together because both of these have been neglected for me because of their faults. But I'm going to be wearing this look so much now because together they are magic. And in my crease, I had used the NYX Single Shadow in the shade Coquette. This is similar to MAC Haux, but Haux is more of a rosy brown, and this shade has more purple to it. And for my transition color, again, I used the Tarte Bare to Explore. My next look was centered around the MAC Extra Mention eyeshadow in Ready to Party. So MAC describes this shadow as a pale lilac, but when I purchased this shade and swatched it, I saw this as an opal. It looked like it had a white base with a really strong light purple shift, which was absolutely stunning, but I definitely saw this as an opal instead of as a lilac. And as a base on my lid, I used a Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Too Cool. So because I saw Ready to Party as more of an opal color, I wanted to use this shimmery white base to really help bring out that purple duochrome shimmery effect, and it absolutely worked. So again, because this is an Extra Mention eyeshadow, it does have more of a dry formula to it, so I feel like it really benefits from using a cream base underneath. These colors go together so perfectly, but it definitely did really bring out that purple look to it. So the formula of Ready to Party and Smoky Mauve are very similar, but Smoky Mauve does have some more glitter in it, and this one is a straight, smooth finish. The Smoky Mauve really focuses on the glitter, and Ready to Party focuses on that opalescent duochrome sheen. So the first time I used this shadow, I put it over top of this base, and then in the crease and transition, I used some more purple tone shadows, and it looked beautiful, but it was a very purple look, and something I would definitely wear in the spring instead of in the winter. You can wear your eyeshadow whenever you want, but that's just my personal preference. So then I tried these on the lid again, and I chose some different crease and transition colors. For my crease color, I chose MAC Haux because this isn't too dark, also not too purple, and it does have that rosy brown tone to it. And for my transition color, I used Tarte Bare to Explore again. And my last look was using ColourPop Elektra on my lid. I did not use a cream base with this. As I said, I feel like the ColourPop shadows are intensely pigmented on their own. They don't need a base, and I will usually apply one layer with a brush and then a second layer with my finger to really intensify the pigment. And Elektra is a shade that was part of a limited edition quad, so it is no longer available, but ColourPop has so many very similar eyeshadows. So this is a metallic finish, and the ColourPop metallic shadows do have glitter particles in them, and the amount of glitter particles definitely does change from shadow to shadow. Elektra does not have a ton of glitter, which is great for me because usually the metallic shadows, I will have a lot of glitter fallout on my cheeks. I didn't have much at all with this, just a tiny bit, and usually I will just take a tapered powder brush and I will just brush it off and I'm good to go. And I had the same thoughts when using this as I did when I used MAC's Cranberry. Because this was a darker shade on my lid, I did not also want a darker shade in my crease, and a big reason for that is because I do have small eyes and they already look closed. So if I have really dark all over my eyes are gonna look like they're freaking shut all the time. But instead of using something more brown like I did with MAC Cranberry, I chose to use something more rosy. So again, I used MAC's Haux in my crease, and I used Tarte Bare to Explore as my transition color. So I really enjoyed that look. I love the colors I chose to go along with it, and that is a shade that I haven't really been using. I've been neglecting a lot of my ColourPop shadows, so I'm definitely going to enjoy throwing those in these single of the month videos. And I love cranberry burgundy shades in general. As I said, when I wear a dark shade on my lid, it can definitely make my eyes look small, but cranberry and more red tone shades pair so well with green eyes, and they really bring out the green, which emphasizes my eyes, so it kind of makes up for the fact I'm wearing a dark shade on my lid. So overall, I loved the formula of all of these shadows, and I really did love all of the colors and all of the looks I created. My least favorite look would be with MAC Ready to Party, and as I said, it's because this is something I feel like I'm going to use more in the springtime with some purple crease and transition colors, and I think that look would be amazing. But I do still enjoy this shadow. I do still enjoy this formula. I am so glad I decided to do this single shadow of the month video. My MAC Satin Taupe look is one I've been using for years, but I enjoy wearing it every single year. But But all of these other eye looks, I created something different. I used different bases, I used different transition and crease colors, and I was able to create looks I really love and looks that I plan on wearing all the time now. And I'm so happy that I did this because I discovered some eyeshadows I've been neglecting and I really fell in love with. I think one of my favorite things I discovered is this Tarte Bare to Explore eyeshadow. I never used this palette. I thought that shade was pointless, and now it's one of my all-time favorite transition shades. I was about to declutter this Maybelline Color Tattoo in Black Orchid because it didn't have a nice metallic sheen to it, but now I'm gonna keep it and love it and wear it all the time because it is the perfect base for this MAC Smoky Mauve shadow. So overall, I'm just completely ecstatic and I really enjoyed doing this series, and I'm gonna continue doing this. And please let me know what things you would like me to tweak in this video, and hopefully by the next time I do one, it will be a little bit better for you guys. I would also love to know what ways you guys like to wear these eyeshadows. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.